earlier off air, we were talking about some of the clinics, some of the like wellness and biohacking and regenerative type medicine clinics that you have been consulting and advising. And I'd love to talk about this because I'm such a huge fan of this space. We've got a mutual friend in Michael Swale who has Alive and Well here in Austin. And I think that facility is incredible. I'm looking at an investment in them and a few others. I'm impressed with Reagan Archibald's facility, East West Health. I've had him on the podcast. And so I'm really curious to learn some of what you're doing, because I think you had just like 4 or 5 consulting gigs where you basically looked at their products, helped build some menus, looked at the supplements, looked at, the type of therapies that they were providing. So can you weigh in on some of that, Ben?
Yeah, I've found that the lion's share of my boots on the ground consulting and advising these days, when it comes to the brick and mortar sectors, has been with professional teams and squads who want to get advice on the setup of their strength conditioning, their training, and their recovery facilities. With facilities like this that are biohacking facilities that kind of want to expand their range of services or equipment. And then finally, corporate wellness facilities where people want me to come in and analyze like their workplace ergonomics, things like the treadmills and the desks that we're talking about, the air, the light, the water, the electricity, etc. And it is kind of cool when you look at this from what would be called a building biology standpoint, because, and this is pretty relevant to me because I'm building a new home in Idaho right now, there's so much that you can do to optimize your personal environment, right? Instead of having Wi-Fi, having Cat7 metal shielded Ethernet cables, putting cutoff or kill switches in each bedroom, making sure the magnetic field doesn't pass too close to the head in the wiring behind the walls on the bed, making sure that there's a good like double carbon block or reverse osmosis water setup, and that the piping is set up in a good way, that the HVAC system is set up to be mold free, and general reduction of dirty electricity and high amounts of electromagnetic fields throughout. Along with circadian friendly lighting, like lighting that doesn't flicker, reduction of dimmer switches, and a use of circadian friendly lighting like OLED or fluorescent, non-fluorescent, incandescent, or halogen based lighting. Like these are all the little things that when someone's setting up a facility or medical office or corporate wellness space or a home or whatnot, they just don't think about. So that's the first thing that I look at is, what's the air like? What's the light like? What's the water like? What's the electricity look like? What's the overall environment? And does it optimize someone? Because it just doesn't make sense. Like if you're going to pay high-end bucks for some concierge physician and you go to them and you're laying there getting examined, staring up at fluorescent lighting in a room that hasn't been tested for mold, and there's 20 Wi-Fi signals and no dirty electricity filters in the room, and you have no clue what their water filtration strategy is, and yet you're getting treated for medical conditions that can often be environmentally induced. So the first thing I look at is, what's the actual space look like from an environmental standpoint? Air, light, water, electricity, etc. How can we make this as primal and natural to the biological system as possible? And then I think the error that a lot of so-called biohacking facilities or upgraded wellness spaces make, that I see repeatedly in the industry, is they'll buy a bunch of cool shit, right? Like HBOT and cryotherapy and red light therapy and a CVAC unit, and maybe like a minimal effective dose single set to failure, ARX machine or Normatec boots, or just litter some office with like a $750,000 worth of biohacking equipment, and then hire a nurse and have a bunch of IVs and peptides available. The problem is that the consumer doesn't know what the hell to do when they walk in there, and they will purchase a visit. They don't know, when do I do the cryotherapy, and at what point in this experience do I do the red light, and what kind of IV do I get today, and will the hyperbaric therapy that I'm doing after this mess up or help what I'm getting into my body from the IV? And so the secret sauce in terms of the companies that are doing it well is they're producing almost like a customized menu. So when you go to a facility like that, the first thing is you should undergo a battery of tests. Like I work with a lot of high-end clientele VIPs and execs who want me to write out their whole nutrition plan, their fitness plan, what kind of biohacks they do, what supplements that they take, etc. I don't work with anybody until I've gotten a full genetic panel, stool screening, blood testing, micronutrient testing, urine testing, food allergy testing, and wearable devices like heart rate variability and sleep that allow me to use a very data-driven approach for someone. So the first thing that should be done in a lot of these facilities is an intake where there's extensive testing performed. Then you steer the IV protocol, the peptide protocol, the stem cell protocol, etc., to set it up in a way that's customized to that person. And you're also giving them the diet and exercise plan that they follow, whether or not they're in the facility. And then the range of services, people shouldn't just be able to walk in there and say, hey, I'm going to do cryo today. I'm going to do red light today. They actually have a package that's set up for them where it literally is almost like a SaaS service, a subscription-based service for biohacking. You're paying this monthly fee or this weekly fee, or maybe you have a VIP package that upgrades you to extra IVs or peptides or access to certain machines that other non-VIP members don't get. And then someone actually knows when they walk in what they do Monday, what they do Wednesday, what they do Friday, because the novelty of having access to all this equipment will wear off after a few months when someone has joined, and then they're gone because they don't know what to do. It's like somebody joining a fancy gym, and this is the secret sauce for gyms because they get a little bit less wear and tear on their equipment. They'll get members, but the members will eventually stop coming because they just don't know what to do when they walk in the gym. They don't have a plan. I don't agree with that ethically, that idea of just basically, planned obsolescence of a customer because they don't know what to do. But if these biohacking facilities want repeated customers, repeated experience, good word of mouth, and growth, and the ability to be able to franchise or open up new facilities, domestically or internationally, they need a set menu for each person and almost like a system that they plug you into based on your profile. And then you know exactly what to do when you're visiting, what time, who you're going to be working with when you're there, when your next test is coming up. And that's the type of slick approach that the people who are doing it right are doing. But I see these companies come and go now, like every few weeks. And the mistake most of them make is put a bunch of cool stuff in a room and you're going to make a bunch of money off of people paying to come into that facility, but they don't optimize the environment, like I was talking about earlier, and they don't optimize the experience to be customized, personalized, and not create confusion for someone in terms of what they're supposed to use and when.